One idea that tries to explain the beginning of the world is called the Big Bang. This idea combines how stars, planets, and life on those planets have changed over time. It's still a pretty strange theory, though. The Big Bang theory explains what might have happened at the beginning of time. The universe was very dense, with particles squished together into an area smaller than a pinhead. From this point on, there was an enormous explosion of matter and energy, which is known as the Big Bang. Taking place billions of years ago, this event set the stage for the past of the galaxy. But as scientific understanding has grown, more and more problems have been found with the assumptions of this theory. Scientists thought that the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, which was the biggest and most advanced space observatory ever built, might help support the idea of how the universe came to be. Scientists were amazed by the telescope's ability to look deep into the past of the world, but it only lasted 1 year in space. Because of its amazing abilities, the JWST has shown us galaxies that are so old that they make us question how the universe came to be. Because of this finding, scientists are looking into what was there before the Big Bang. One important event in this project happened when cosmologist Rohan Natu, using data from the telescope, found a galaxy from very soon after the Big Bang. It was the farthest galaxy that had ever been seen. Nada's finding shocked even the most experienced researchers and showed how powerful the JWST really is. Its important goal of changing the way we think about the universe has only just begun. It promises to reveal amazing new information about the very beginning of the universe's history, a time that hasn't been studied much before. This time period is important for knowing how the first stars and structures formed and changed over time. The telescope's findings have gone against the original ideas, showing galaxies with features that are better than expected. This huge number of new galaxies has caused a storm of scientific inquiry, pushing scientists to find ways to fit these new results into theories that already exist. As scientists try to make sense of these new findings, they are faced with basic questions about the universe and the forces that shaped its growth. In addition to its constant progress, the JWST is 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, away from usual interference, and cooled to almost absolute zero by a sunshield the size of a tennis court. The telescope is made up of a huge, segmented mirror and very sensitive instruments that are meant to show secret details about the early universe. It was around 200 million years after the Big Bang, during this time called the Big Dawn, that the first stars and galaxies started to form. There are still a lot of theories about how this happened, ranging from the effects of dark matter and dark energy to how star-forming gas and dust interact with each other. The JWST's view of galaxies from the beginning of time gives cosmologists a unique chance to test how they think these complex processes work. By looking into these old systems, researchers can either find flaws in their current models that could lead to important new findings, or they can find gaps in their understanding that do. At first, it was thought that the telescope would only be able to see a few faint, small galaxies during its test runs. But reality has been much better than these hopes. The telescope's first pictures of the faraway sky showed a lot of galaxies whose ages, sizes, and levels of brightness were different from what anyone had thought. The huge number of early galaxies has made space experts race to set new records for the earliest known galaxies. Every day, scientists are amazed by new finds that leave them speechless. After the JWST made its findings, scientists and observers rushed to study these early galaxies that are surprisingly far along. Some people think that these strange results might be due to mistakes in how the telescope interpreted very large observations. While some disagree on some points, most agree that these discoveries change the way we think about the early world and give us exciting glimpses into how it might evolve. The latest galaxy's findings have brought up important questions about the universe and put the assumptions of common cosmological models to the test. Some scientists are looking into whether these findings can be fit with what they already know, while others think they might be the first signs that the universe is much stranger and more complicated than we thought. It's very important because our basic idea of how the world we know today came to be from chaos in the beginning is at risk. The first discoveries made by the JWST could change the way we think about the past of the universe. They could teach us about faraway galaxies and old structures, as well as the nature of our own Milky Way. Mark McFan, senior scientist for science and research at the European Space Agency, says, "You build these machines not to prove theory, but to break it. It's impossible to guess how it will break. In 1985, before the Hubble Space Telescope was launched, the Space Telescope Science Institute, STSCI, was founded. This is where the JWST got its start. At that time, G. Weir, who was in charge of STSCI, had to think about what could come after Hubble. Even though some people didn't believe at first, Weir and a small group started making plans for what would become the James Webb Space Telescope. The JWST was made to look at things in the infrared range, not visible light like Hubble does. This lets it see much deeper into the universe. This feature is very important for studying faraway galaxies whose light has been stretched into the infrared because the universe is expanding, so cameras like Hubble can't see them. With its huge mirror that looks like a cold star, the JWST became the best tool for finding out about the beginning of the universe. In 1995, the Hubble Deep Field Study found many galaxies in an area of the sky that had been thought to be empty. This showed how important the JWST was. This discovery showed how rich the early universe was and emphasized the need for a telescope that can look much deeper into the past of the universe. It took about 20 years and cost about $1 billion to build, but on December 25, 2021, it was finally launched. It was ready to start its most important year of scientific studies in July 2022. Early programs like the General Observer Program and the Early Release Science Program were made to look for galaxies that were formed very early on. At first, the results were not what was expected, but they were much better. JWST observations have called into question current models of the early universe by finding galaxies that don't fit with what we know about cosmology. Making these amazing findings shows how important it is to push the limits of scientific inquiry and how powerful cutting-edge technologies like the JWST are. As scientists keep looking at the JWST data, they might find new information that challenges and adds to what we know about the world. Cosmologists were very excited when the first data from the JWST started coming in. A lot of people had been getting their data analysis systems ready for years. Researchers chose to share their findings on preprint servers like AR14 instead of going through the usual peer review process, which takes months. These servers are for research papers that have not yet been reviewed by experts. This method made it possible for a new kind of peer review to happen on social media sites like Twitter, where scientists could quickly talk about their results. Rohan Naidu called this science by press release, and it caused a lightning storm of heated and interesting debate. But there were worries about the bad things that might happen because of how quickly the results were shared. Klaus Pontypool, a JWST project scientist at STSCI, warned that sharing data quickly can help get the word out and start conversations quickly, but it can also make the process too busy. In general, most researchers agree that the idea of how things came to be is still the best way to explain how the world started. This theory includes how stars, planets, and living things on those worlds move, including us. The Big Bang, despite its strange name, is a very important theory about what might have happened at the beginning of the world. There were a lot of particles packed into an area smaller than a pinhead. This made the universe thick. From this point on, a huge explosion of matter and energy happened. It is called the Big Bang. Taking place billions of years ago, this event set the stage for the history of the galaxy. But as science knowledge has grown, there are more and more problems with the assumptions that this theory is based on. Researchers thought that the James Webb Space Telescope's observations would support the idea of how the universe came to be when NASA launched it. It was the biggest and most advanced space science observatory ever built. As it turned out, the telescope shocked scientists with its deep ability to look into the past of the universe after only 1 year in space. Because of its amazing abilities, the JWST has shown us galaxies that are so old that they make us question how the universe came to be. Because of this finding, scientists are looking into what was there before the Big Bang.